Hey guys, it is Cassandra from Beads to Live By. How are you doing tonight? I am here with you live on YouTube for the first time in quite a while, so I apologize in advance for being absent for a bit here, but we've been doing so much on Facebook and especially with our friends at Softflex Company that I just haven't had an opportunity to get on here as much as I'd like. But we are here tonight to look at this fantastic project, and I will try to toggle back and forth a little bit. But the pendant was inspired by those awesome peacock daggers that we have in the shop. And if you check, after I made the little graphic that you're looking at right now, I realized that it's probably not very easy to read. I don't know what just happened to there we go. So because it's probably showing up a little bit small on your screen, depending on what kind of device you're on, I wanted to make sure and give you guys a lot of opportunities to see the supply list. So I've got that in the comments on our YouTube video here. And then, of course, on that slide that we're showing right now. But hi, Becky. Hi, Maria. Thanks for joining us. So basically, the main products that you're going to be working with, and I think I'll try switching to, there we go, this view for a minute, are definitely a medium beading wire. I'm worried my lens on my camera's a little, hold on just a second here. You guys don't want to see the inside of my mouth, and that's how I clean this. All right, let's see if we can get this to be a little bit more legible. I use my phone for my second camera, so inevitably there's a little bit of a film from all the use that it gets, but that's a little bit better. So we're looking at a medium Softflex. Oh, I'm so glad you guys are out there knowing each other. That's fun. But tonight I'm going to use the chrysoprase, and that is what we are going to string the majority of our beads on, all of our daggers specifically, to get this awesome layered effect to very much mimic a peacock tail, but also just a really lovely kind of, trying to think of the word that I want to use. That cascading effect, as I named the pendant, is just something that you don't see with the daggers as often as I think would be nice, but they just look so good that way that I was really grateful that I came up with a solution for that. So that is what the Softflex is for. We've got two different sizes of crimp beads. So we're working with a 2x2 millimeter and a 3x3 millimeter. And again, you can see this in the comments on the YouTube video at the very top of the screen, or the very beginning of the video if you're watching the replay. And then I'm working with two different colors of seed beads, but you could do more. You could mix your seed beads. And these are size 11s. The reason I'm working with two colors is because I really, in the original pendant, wanted to use several colors that I thought coordinated really nicely with my daggers. So I've got one color down here in the stringing part, and then one color in the peyote stitch. So those are what we're using there. And even though I made this as a pendant the first time, I am very much about to make a pair of earrings with my second set. So we'll talk about all the different ways that you can finish this off. I've just got it laying on a piece of the pipe chain from Silver Silk right now. If you guys have not shopped with our friends at Silver Silk, you definitely should go check them out. Nile is absolutely wonderful. Oh, Stacy, that makes my heart so happy. So Stacy is saying that she loves the design, but that she gasped out loud. So she must be a subscriber to our two whole subscriptions for our curated collections. Oh, that's so awesome. Thank you for that, Stacy. So a really good point. Thank you for mentioning that. Is that on top of being able to find all of these supplies at our website, visaliveby.com, these seed bead colors that I'm working with in the sample specifically, and all of the daggers I'm working with tonight are part of a subscription that we offer. So it is what we call our curated collections, because not only do we offer several subscriptions within this like new part of our business, but we also always offer other coordinated additions to the subscriptions. So the subscriptions are either for seed beads or for two whole beads or for both. You can combine them and save on your shipping. But every month, subscribers also get the option to add on several types of chat glass, fire polish, and pressed glass to those subscriptions. So we're so happy to offer that opportunity for our customers. We've really been enjoying doing the subscriptions, picking the colors out for you guys, coming up with fun designs like this to help you use them. So this is going to be a lot of fun. But in addition to your supplies that we've already talked about, you're going to need quite a few tools. So I hope you guys are really stocked up on some good tools. I've got a pair of flush cutters. So that's the kind that you can get a flat edge on your wire. I've got a pair of regular magical crimpers. So these are for the 2x2 millimeter crimps. And then I've got a pair of thread cutters for my wildfire, which is something we haven't talked about yet, but we're getting to. And also a pair of regular crimping pliers. So that is the only thing that I'm using that I wouldn't necessarily recommend. If you have something for the large crimp beads, the 3x3 millimeters, there are specific crimp pliers for that size crimp bead. I highly recommend using those, but you can get away with the regular crimp pliers if you only have those like I do. So do you guys have colors picked out for this yet? Are you thinking about playing around with this at all? I'm really excited to see what everybody decides to do. So when you get down to working with the seed beads, I do my little spool is all marked up from my use of my thread, but this is a product that we do carry on our website, and those thread cutters that I mentioned have been out of stock for a long time for us, but we are getting ready to reorder a very large quantity of them so that we can restock them. They are really wonderful because they have a serrated edge on one blade, and then they have a very sharp flat edge on the other blade. And the very unique thing about that is that when you are working with, and mine are a little older, so I might not be able to do my little trick with them that I used to, but when you are working with the fishing line threads or the fishing line style threads, it used to be that you had to like hold both sides of the thread really tight, like, you know, make a loop with it and then like hold your scissors against it and really like have a lot of tension on it in order to trim it. But with these, I can snip the end right off. So I did still manage to achieve that, despite the fact that those are a very old pair that I've had for quite a while. So with the wildfire, I used about 5 feet and probably had a bunch left over, but that's a safe amount that you'll be able to get away with. Now, unfortunately, because my first pendant, I was designing that in the midst of my one and only time I've made it. So I don't have measurements yet, but I will be sure to work through that tonight so that we can talk about what size to make these loops on the pendant. Maria, I think you're asking me a question, but I either said something that didn't come across clearly, or perhaps maybe I'm misunderstanding. So for those of you that are newer, I'll leave this up here. We have a Facebook group called Beads in Progress. That's where I posted this last night when I made it for the first time. And you will really enjoy being part of that group if you're working with any of our beads or working through some of our tutorials, because that is where lots of other people are sharing those same things that they're working on or working with. Oh, just got rid of that little extra thread by accident. So what I'm going to do is I've got my, I'm going to do two things here. Maybe we'll see if I can move. There we go. Because I think I can make the one bigger than the other. Oh, that's not. We'll figure it out. There we are. So you can still see little me, but then. Oh, thanks, Becky. I really like the blue and purple too. I'm excited about these other colors though, because I'm going to be able to get a lot of use out of the other colors as an earring. So I am taking my wire and trying to just do a little bit of measuring. So I'm going to cut my longest piece and then tell you guys what length I'm cutting that at as a guesstimate. But I'm going to show you something. When I'm working with the seed beads and the beading wire from our friends at Softflex in the medium size especially, I am holding that on an angle when I cut with my flush cutter, because that's going to give you like a nice sharp point to be able to kind of use it more like a needle. So that is what we're doing there. And then I'm just going to triple check the length of this, because what you need to be able to do is overlap your wire. Oh yes, that's the perfect size. And then we'll just go down from there. So let's see if we can't just leave that kind of, it doesn't lay flat as easily as it will hang. The hanging of it is going to be way better looking, but so that is our longest piece. And then you are going to leave this 3 by 3 millimeter crimp uncrimped as you work with it. So until the very end. So don't crimp that one until you are completely done. But I am going to trim my daggers off. Every piece of your cord will pass through that crimp bead though. So it is going to exist on your project the whole time. It's just something that you don't do anything else with as far as crimping until the end. Maria, I don't know if you heard me say that that question you asked a few moments ago, I do not quite understand. So if you end up being able to clarify for me at some point, that'd be great. So we're working with our accent colors, what I'm going to call the seed bead that goes on the cords, and our 1 or 2 hole daggers, because you're only using the top hole or the singular hole for this project. So you can use something other than a 2-hole dagger. I just happen to have lots of 2-hole daggers, so I'm going to use those. So I'm going to string on one of those accent size 11 seed beads, and then a dagger, and then a seed bead, and a dagger. Yeah, if you think those peacock daggers are beautiful, who was it, Stacy, that said that? Yeah, this color was in, I want to say the May subscription, but it's pretty incredible. And I'm actually going to pull some of that extra light down over the stuff. I don't know if it's really going to help a ton, but we'll see. Yeah, those look good. So your goal is to always have a seed bead at the beginning and end of these sections. And then you're also going to want them one between every dagger. I don't know why I'm all of a sudden having trouble getting any seed beads onto my cord. Maybe I switched, yeah. I switched sides that I was stringing onto, but well, and that's not going to work. And I promptly, as I told you guys that you needed to do every other bead as a seed bead, I totally started to try to double up there. There we go. Yeah, cutting that cord on an angle makes a huge difference. And I always forget to do like both ends of my cord I'm working with, even though theoretically I should have a start of one already cut that way from my last project. I don't always remember to do it if I'm not using them. Oh, thank you, Stacy. I'm super excited about it. So the very bottom of this design only uses 3 daggers. And then the second longest loop, I have 4 daggers on. And then there's 3 and then 2 on the smallest loop. So just happened to be the way that they laid nicely, and I thought they worked best for the look I wanted with the peacock design. So again, this 3x3 that's trying to run away from me is going to just sit on this wire. We're not going to do anything with that right now. And then the 2x2, we're going to put onto one side of the wire. And before I do any more, I just realized that I didn't give you guys the measurement. I'm sorry. This longest piece of the beading wire, the medium size, I've got it cut at just about 7 inches. So 7 inches with 3 daggers, all spaced out with seed beads and then one on each side. And then I've got my 3x3 and my 2x2. And I'm using gold as my 2x2s because some of those will show, but the 3x3 I've gotten silver, and it's not going to matter because that's going to get covered up by the, ultimately by your peyote stitch. So we're going to crisscross our wires, and it does not matter where you let anything fall right now because we're just working on getting this going. The only thing you have to do is make it the size you want your longest loop to be, which for me, I'm going to measure this out against my original project, and then I'll try to come up with a good way to measure that for you guys, like kind of the circumference or half the pendant, something like that. So once you get it to size, if you're holding both wires, you're not going to have to worry about that moving in an inappropriate way that's going to mess up your project. Thank you, Maria. The daggers are really fantastic, aren't they? So we're using our 2x2 millimeter magic crimper because you are going to see these a bit. And as our good friend Sarah Ayler would say, we're going to make our ravioli, and then you turn, crimp, turn until you've got just the right sweet little ball. So this will not sit centered on your project. You will ultimately work with your 3x3 centered, and then the daggers will hang at the bottom. But that's just to give you a like frame of reference, because nothing is going to sit in place as of yet. And then I'm trimming my cords right up to that crimp bead that we did crimp, the 2x2. I can hear my oh, that Maria, is that what she says? So you take your oh goodness, throwing that around. You take your ravioli and turn it into a meatball for that 2x2 crimp. But this is what it's gonna look like. It's all flopping around, nothing's held in place for a bit yet. So I would say that if that first piece of cord was 7 inches, that you could cut the other 3 cords to be 6, 5, and 4 inches. But I'm going to triple check that math myself before I have you guys cut your cords, okay? And then I think I'll leave our website up on the banner so that you guys can just see what's happening there. But, oh, the other thing, now you guys can't make fun of me. Look at my ruler. I don't know if you're going to be able to see the whole thing. This is from when I was like a grade school kid. And my parents, I think, jinxed me because this is very much not the case. But look at how funny this is. Do you guys remember either like yourselves or buying these for kids back in the 90s or like maybe even late 80s? Oh, Jennifer Miller says ravioli to meatball. That's very good and accurate. But yes, so that's my ruler I'm working with. I had to show you guys because it's gonna come up on the screen now. So when I crimped this loop, and I'm trying not to warp the shape too much because I like a nice loopy loop, but it comes out to just about 2 inches in diameter. So hopefully that helps you guys to kind of visualize what you're doing. So even though we had 7 inches to start, I think the circle ends up being about 4 inches of cord if I'm even close to accurate in my guesstimations. So that's the largest loop again. So then I'm cutting a piece, another piece as a 6-inch piece, and then a 5 and a 4-inch. I don't know if that's like way too much or not enough, but we're gonna just try that since I did not have a very scientific start to my project as I was messing around last night. Really hoping I have enough of this chrysoprase color left to do these earrings, which again, we'll see. All right, so the ruler is probably not necessary, other than I'll definitely keep you guys posted on the size of the other loops. So your 6-inch piece of wire, the second to longest, is going to be the one that holds the largest amount of daggers. There's going to be 4 daggers on this piece. So, and then I think Sarah Ayler saves a lot of her little scraps because she uses those to do other things. So we'll hang on to those. But again, if you've got the 2-hole daggers, we're just going through that top hole. So you don't have to worry about the other hole. Don't even concern your pretty little heads with it. How's everybody doing tonight? Are you guys working on any fun projects? Just plotting out what you're going to do? Now, I will say that with the size I made these, with the amount of daggers I used, 1 strand of our 2-hole daggers is enough for a pair of earrings, I believe. We'll test that theory tonight. I'll count my leftovers, but so you could do 2 pendants, I believe, out of these strands as well, or just do a pendant and then have others left over. So with all other strands, after the first one, you are going to want to bring your loop. And really, I think measuring is not necessary at this point because we're going to want to use our first loop to like visually measure everything else by it. And everything else is going to lay on top of. So like these daggers are going to like sit above and on top of our previous daggers. But we need to go through, this is that 3x3 that we left open. We're going to go through that. And I like to do every other side with my crimp beads. So because I've gone this direction and I have a crimp over here, that sets us up to put a 2x2 over on this side. And that's the one that we're going to crimp again. Oh goodness, I'm just flailing all over here. I think I'm gonna have to pick one of these puppies up. Okay. I thought for a minute I'd just be able to scoop it up, but not that lucky. So then you're gonna crisscross and go through that again, the 2x2 crimp that you just added with your other side of your cord. And you want to size this so that this loop is like not too much smaller than the previous one, but you've got a nice like overlap there. So that might be just right, I think. And we just need to hold our cords in place, but I need to move that crimp bead away far enough. So we're going to crimp that 2x2. Now I will tell you guys that you are able to shorten if you crimp something too small in this pendant, you are able to shorten your loop by adding a second crimp to the same one, or you could just cut it and start over. I had to do that after I crimped my 3x3, so that was a little bit trickier. Once you get everything going, it's like you can move all the way away from that 3x3 and get in there and get your 2x2 nice and crunched up. There's something very satisfying about crimping these magic crimps, I think. It's just like smushing something up, like playing with or like kneading dough in like a batter of some kind. All right, so I really don't want to leave these. I keep trying to grab my thread cutters, which you do not want to use on your wire. It's like using a pair of like good fabric shears on a piece of paper. So, oh, Becky, you've got some Jesse James kits you're working on. They always have super fun stuff. All right, so just to show you how it will lay, but we're not like there yet. We were gonna end up with like our little raviolis up towards the top, but not right next to the 3x3. So now I'm gonna grab a 5-inch piece of wire and I'm gonna put 3 daggers on it with all the proper seed beads and everything. So far, so good. And I think we're gonna be on time for, I really like to keep these about an hour, so we'll have time to still show some peyote stitch with the gold seed beads, I think, just for the portion at the top. If I'd been really prepared, I would have done a sample of the peyote stitch. Gosh, I'm throwing these seed beads all over. I'm not using my normal type of work pad surface. So when you're working with seed beads, a soft but firm surface is really ideal. If you've got a hard surface that you're scooping them off of or that they're bouncing against, that's what they'll do, is bounce all over. All right. So again, on top of our shortest previous layer, so that they all will stack one on top of the other. And because my last crimp was on the right hand side, I'm going to move from the right to the left, and then I will add a crimp bead over on one of the wires once the proper wire is through the 3mm crimp. I'll add my 2mm crimp, and then we'll get everything sized up once we crisscross through it. There's really not much point in doing anything any sooner than that, because you're gonna have too much movement, I think. But I try to hold everything so I can get a feel for how the layering's gonna go. Just don't want to have too, oops, sorry, I'm a little off camera there. I don't want to have too much or too little. I think that's a nice, so you guys can see, like, I'm maybe doing a difference of like 1/4 of an inch between each of those loops. We'll measure that out for you with the fancy ruler too. All right, so got that crimp on there. I'm not gonna be as like precise about how we show that off every time, just because you guys either have plenty of experience or can rewatch that first one where I do it really carefully and one step at a time. But you can see there's not a ton of cord left over, and you really could make these loops any size you wanted. So I'm only giving you a guide because I know people like to know exactly what I did, not because I expect you to do exactly what I did. All right, getting close here to being able to crimp that top one. And the other thing too that's cool is you really could let those 2x2s go wherever you wanted them to go. Like, I kind of like the idea of hiding them in my seed bead bale that I'm going to create, but it's not like a requirement again. Okay, smallest piece of wire, which I think I said 7, 6, 5, 4 inches. Count backwards from the longest. And then you're only adding 2 of the daggers. So that's going to be pretty easy. Trying to clean up some of my bouncy surface beads. And you could play around with how many daggers you add and like how many loops you add too. The only requirement is that you can get them all through the 3mm crimp. So there's room for more than these 4 loops, and you could really play around with that. All right, so now I'm going to go left to right because the last time I went right to left, and it might not really matter because of the way everything gets crimped, but I want to put my last crimped bead over on that right side of the pendant. And this whole process, each loop after you start the first one off are the same to an extent. This one might be a little short, guys. I might say to do two 5s, a 6, and a 7, just so you've got a little more room to work with. Like, we have enough cord to make our loop, but it's just a little cumbersome to hold it the right. It's going to be a little fussy. So I would say 2 5-inch pieces, a 6-inch piece, and a 7-inch piece would be ideal for this size pendant. But because of all that, I'm going to get in there and just get my crimp made before things fall apart on us here. And don't let it slide off your wires. I struggle a lot with the magic crimper to begin with, so that's part of my quandary, but I just really did not want that last loop to be too small, so I probably made it a little bigger than it needed to be, but that's okay. So get it nice and smushed. Things are going good there. And then, oh, this looks so exciting. I almost don't want to make an earring with it just because I know that means I'm going to have to precisely make a second replication of what I did with this one, which I think I should be able to do after teaching how to replicate the idea, but I know it's just like not the most fun thing to do. So once you have all your loopy pieces in place and crimped individually, each loop, then you are going to slide your all of your 2mm crimps. So you have to just find where those are on the loops and get them clustered. You want them closer to that 3mm, but you want, here, I'm going to see if I can give you guys a good view. You want them layered so that they're not on top of each other. I think they'll just lay better that way. So close enough to that crimp bead that they're, like gathered, but you want them to not be exactly on top of each other. It almost looks like a little bow right now, the way that they're setting. And then that's when you grab your, if you have it, a good 3mm crimp tool. Might be a mega crimper, something along those lines. And you're gonna just give that a good squeeze on the correct setting. So it's gonna be kind of holding everything in an arched position. And then you have to be really careful because I really kind of warped some of the shape of my layers of loops and the way they would sit. But on that like end position where it folds it, you can go ahead and give it a fold. Because that'll change a little bit of like how your loops sit and the length that they sit at and all that. And these are more clustered than my first set, but I am not mad about it. It still has a really beautiful effect. I think I was a little scared to make my second to last and then last loop too short. So I'm going to show you guys how to shorten one once you've got it all put together, because I think that's valuable information to have. On this shortest loop, I've got it crimped over on the side, you can tell. So just up near the top, you want to leave enough space on this side that you can actually double back over. So I'll show you guys what I mean with the crimp bead. But I would say like, oh, how many millimeters are we from? Okay, I am about 10 millimeters away from my big crimp bead. So that would be about 1/2 inch. I was going to guess that, but I was nervous to like give statistics. And make sure and hold on to the other side of your wire, because that's where your beads would fall off if you don't. So on the longest piece of your wire, you're going to slide that 2 millimeter crimp on, and then you're going to layer it back through the short end. And then I'm going to just like give myself the, I'm going to throw it is what I'm going to do. This is tricky because you're going to give yourself a very little amount of room to crimp that at the top here. But now that we're in business and we know what we're doing. So this only shortens it by like, I would bet 1/4 inch or so, but that's just enough to, yeah, give you a little bit more dimension in that layer of your. So this coloring really looks a little bit more like fish scales than it does like the feathers. So that's interesting. There. And this is going to be so short, your ends on this portion of your wire, you're probably not even going to mess with cutting any of those ends off, because we're going to cover all that up with the interior part with the peyote stitch. So yeah, my longest layer is a little long compared to my second to last layer, my second to longest layer. But again, different effect with these colors anyways. I don't think I'm going to mess with that too much more. So I'm going to switch out my seed beads. I'm going to clean up. We'll see, maybe clean up some of those other guys. And I'm going to show you guys real quick. Again, we're working with about 5 feet of this thread, and I'll let you know exactly how way too much that probably is. But we just want to do a real simple peyote stitch. And I need to grab, oh, Sherry, I'm so glad to hear that. Thank you. Grab a needle off this. It looks like from the one I was working with last night that I had about 3 feet left. So that is a good guesstimate that you probably only need like a yard of thread to work with. But if you guys need a refresher on peyote stitch in a more step-by-step sort of situation, then I will happily send you to other videos that we've done. But I'm going to go a little bit more quickly with this part because I'd like to show you guys how to like attach it on the top of the pendant, which is not complicated, but more involved than just a plain peyote stitch. So I am going to count. I think I did 8 across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep. So you start with 8 seed beads. And again, we're using a size 11. And I'm throwing them all over because I'm using my cute little dishes instead of my normal bead mat. So I scoop beads on 3, 4, 5, and then 6, 7, 8. And then I count them. That's easier when you're doing like a larger quantity. Sorry, I've got a little gnat that has decided it really enjoys my company over here. So that's been fun. And you only need to leave like 4 to 6 inches, 6 inches so you can hold on to something. You're going to scoop up another, so this is the 9th bead that you're going to add. And you're going to skip the last one that's closest to your needle end, and you're going to go through the next one. So it's like your 7th bead that you added is what you're going to go through. But again, please feel free to reach out. I'll send you some basic peyote directions. So add another bead, skip a bead, and then go through one. That's the pattern when it comes to the peyote stitch. And we're going to get a lot better tension when we get this last bead on here. So the last bead that you add in this row should allow you to go through the first bead you added on your string, which would be the last bead before your tail, technically. And I grab both sides of my thread and give it a good tug because we are going to want those beads to set up in like a toothy sort of pattern. It'll also look like if you were laying bricks or tile. So that's the pattern you want. So then I think one way for beginners to have better tension is to take their tail and make a double overhand knot in that spot too. And that's why we leave a little bit of tail to hold on to, because we'll do that now and then we'll do that when we finish the loop of peyote too. So I've got one more bead on. I'm going to go away from my tail end and go through that first bump up there. So with peyote stitch, when you move back and forth across your rows after that first set that we just did, you're actually going to be going through all the beads that are sticking up a little bit further. So you go through every other bead still, but you'll notice that they are bumping up, and the beads you add are going to fill the spaces between. So this works out. That next row will be a little less bumped up than the previous one. And then it'll just continue to like ebb and flow that way across. And the goal with this strip of peyote stitch is to make it a length that will fit around your top of your pendant or earring to cover some of those crimp beads, and mainly that one that in our case does not even fit our color scheme. But we just want to make something that looks a little bit more finished, a little bit more decorative. And then when you get to an end, so we're coming out of the edge of those beads, you turn after you've added a seed bead and you go through the one that's bumping up. You skip that lower one that you were coming out of. And then we just work back through like so. And if you are a newer beader, I highly recommend a size 11 needle with size 11 seed beads. It's in something like this where you're not going through the beads a lot. It really is easier to thread. It's easier to work with. You're not going to bend it up as much. Size 12s and smaller are a little bit harder to work with, I think, if you're newer. And as I'm talking through that, also would be helpful to point out that the higher the number, the smaller the needle, just like with your seed beads, the higher the number, the smaller the bead. With the seed beads, the rumor is, I believe, that you are fitting a certain number of beads into a certain space. So like the same amount of size 6 seed beads, 6 of them would fit into the same space as 11 size 11 beads or something along those lines. That could be complete horse hockey or whatever the old farmer saying is, but so I can't wait to see what color you guys are working with. Oh gosh, you know what? I wonder if I can show. So we are doing a new, there it is. We are doing a new idea every month. If you are working with our curated collections from that month, you can do this if you are not a subscriber and just happen to order those beads. But being a subscriber saves you money and gets you the perks of receiving them before anybody else. So the contest is explained in the slide, and it's also detailed out in our Beads in Progress group. So you guys just peruse that. Yes, Maria, I was taught to use size 12s, and rightfully so if you're working with size 15s or if you're going through an 11 a lot, or if you're working with different brands of 11s. Sometimes it's helpful to have a smaller needle like a 12. But I definitely have found, as an elder beader, as I sure I am now, with the fact that I've been doing this for 20 years, that a size 11 is just nice and sturdy feeling in your hands. So it is really lovely to not have to I can bend and break a size 12 depending on the brand pretty easily. And look at this great little strip. So you guys have probably seen peyote stitch all over the place. It works well for a patterned bracelet. You can graph out patterns with it, but it also makes a great little tube is what we're technically going to be making with it tonight. Ouch. And I totally just stabbed myself with my sturdy needle. So yeah, if you make one of these projects with the July curated collections, then please feel free to comment on that post in our Beads in Progress group. I actually need to pin that to the top of the page each month. That would be helpful for people to not have to try to search for it. But the image looks very similar to parts of this image that you're seeing right now on your screen. So, all right. So this is not as long as my original one, but because I'm doing an earring, I might not make it as big of a tube anyways. But I think I need to make it bigger. So you see right now how I can wrap it around, but it does not cover the entire portion of my project. Maria, that is an excellent question. I have been working with with the brand of needles that's called Tulip needles for quite a while now. I believe I have them listed on the website, but if you see that they are not in stock, let me know, because I probably just need to add more stock back to them. So that is something that I should have on there for you guys. Or I might have another, if there's another needle listing. Our website search engine, the search engine within the website, is very comprehensive. So if you just type in needle on the search bar, there's another brand of 11 that's very inexpensive that we do offer in the store. So I can't remember if either or both of those are listed on the website, to be honest. we are getting ready to combine. I'm sure you guys have heard me talk about this if you've been following us for very long. We will be adding our point of sale to the same platform that we use for our website. So what that means is all of the products that we carry in our store will be available for me to add to our website a lot more easily. I will have to continue to like add pictures and that kind of thing, but the inventory will all be combined. So if I'm like pulling things at an appropriate speed for my website shoppers, then it would not be available out in the store. And then vice versa. If I sell something in the store and it's out of stock, it would pull that from the website instantly, which is not the case right now. So you guys will probably see a lot more on the website sooner than later, but Maria, yes, it is the cat's meow. The tulip needles are like working with, it's like buying a Coach bag or something, I think, after having used other various brands for years. Okay, so I'm just going to show you guys a quick zip up of this peyote because I think we're at the point where I can make it work. So this is going to be harder to see because of the colors I'm using anyways, but my needle end is coming out over here and I'm going to go to the opposite side of the peyote strip. So the completely other edge, but the same edge of the, let's see. So start end versus stop end, and then edge is where the like thread is showing along the edge of the strip. That's what we're going to do. So you literally are going to zigzag back and forth, and you're going to just go every other bead in your strip as you zigzag through the two ends. So ends versus edge, I think, would be the easiest way to explain. We're working back and forth between the two ends of our stitching. And then you'll see once I get to the edge where my tail thread is, that's where, look at that cute little tube though. It looks so refined. And then we're going to take our tail thread and the end of our thread that's closer to the needle, and we're going to do that double overhand knot again. So that was one, and then two. And you could literally just trim your threads off at that point. Kind of depends on how you are going to deal with your like if you want to try to stitch, so you can stitch like in and out of your edges of the peyote, and you can go in and out of your layers of those beading wires and kind of hold it in place better. So just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about, my thread's coming out down here. I'm going to go like through, oops, sorry, off screen a little bit. So we'll switch out. There we go. So we're going to like capture a couple of pieces of the wire, which is going to get caught by, like we have that crimp bead in there. And then we can go back into another close bead in the edge of our peyote stitch. So you could do that in a few places on either or both sides. But my plan, so I made my strip big enough on this sample that I was able to just go through it with my pipe chain. And then I still have to finish the ends off there, but That looks really nice and finished. And then for the sake of an earring, I'm going to run a jump ring, I think, through this beaded portion, and then I'll just catch the jump ring with my ear wire. That is the tentative plan for now. We'll see how that works out. But thanks so much for coming to my TED Talk, guys. I hope you had fun. You can see some of the differences in the like tension and the spacing of either of these pendants. And again, they don't lay real great when they're on a flat surface, but I'm trying so hard so that you guys can see a little bit of the differences. So the more you space them out, the softer the like feathering is going to be, like that first one. So I would say minimum of 7 inches for your longest loop for that purpose. But we'll just bring the lights up a little bit, and I hope everybody has fun with their projects. And thank you so much if you're subscribing or if you are purchasing the subscription beads just as you need them. We appreciate your support no matter how it comes. You're zigzagging through. Yes, Maria. I'm sorry. I didn't see that question a few minutes ago. Yes, when you're zigzagging at the end, you have to make sure that your up beads will interlock like that. Otherwise, you need to do an extra row again on your finished end, your finishing end. But I will get better pictures of the second set once I get my other earring done. I get it put together so you guys can see exactly how I finish it off. But easiest possible way is to build a string that onto a necklace and put a clasp on it. So Stacy, you're so welcome. I'm really glad that you were excited about the project and were able to join us for the night. And you guys just let me know how your pieces turn out. I'd love to see what you do with them. So don't forget, other than the shopping, which is important, of course, for the sake of getting all the things you need, our Facebook group is called Beads in Progress, and that's where we are sharing all the things we're working on, either with our beads that we sell or the projects that we are sharing with you guys here or through our classes. So have a wonderful night, and I'll talk to you all soon, okay? Bye.